There are several hot AI startups that are getting a bunch of attention this week, and not all of it is what we would call good attention. So, Paul, in this segment, we're going to do things slightly differently and actually tackle each of three startups that are getting a ton of buzz one at a time, and then unpacking why they're getting all sorts of attention and what that means for business leaders following this space. So, first up are the early reviews of Humane's AI Pin, a company called Humane that makes a product called AI Pin. And the first reviews of this product are, quite frankly, brutal. The Humane AI Pin is intended to be a small, think of a tab like wearable that attaches to your front like a lapel or a strap on your backpack and acts as a voice activated AI assistant designed to kind of replace your phone on the go. Now, the promise of the pin is something the company calls, quote, ambient computing. So, this ability to access multimodal AI that performs a range of tasks for you in the real world. Unfortunately, the device does not seem to be anywhere near that promise. The Verge wrote a very long, in depth review but did not mince words in that review when summing it up. They said, quote, should you buy this thing? That one's easy. Nope, nuh-uh, no way. The AI pin is an interesting idea that is so thoroughly unfinished and so totally broken in so many unacceptable ways that I can't think of anyone to whom I'd recommend spending the $699 for the device and the $24 monthly subscription. So, despite being kind of long term bullish on this idea of wearable computing and devices like the AI Pin, The Verge found that the device is extremely slow processing even basic commands. It's missing basic features, and half the time it just did not work as intended. I mean, for instance, it can't even do things like put things on your calendar if you ask it to, at least at this stage. Now, despite a really rough rollout, Humane has some pretty significant backing. According to CB Insights, some research I did before the podcast today, the company has raised $242 million over six funding rounds, and they count Sam Altman, among others, as an early investor. So, Paul, first up with the Humane AI pin, you seemed somewhat skeptical of the overall premise behind the pin when we talked about it on episode 72 when they kind of pre launched it. What did you think reading these early reviews?
Listen, I don't want to I don't want to badger them worse than they're already getting it. Um, I said on episode 72, I just didn't think this was a viable concept. And I think at the time said I love entrepreneurship. I love a willingness to take risks. I like that they tried this, but um, my initial feeling was it just wasn't a form factor that there would be demand for. And that was assuming it even worked.
Hmm.
The reviews basically say, to save you time of having to go look at them, it's extremely slow. Like takes, you say, I saw a picture where Marquez Brownlee did a review, and he's like, he said, what am I looking at? And it basically it was a Cybertruck, and it took like 12 seconds to come back and say it was a Tesla Cybertruck.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, he went on his phone, searched it up, and had images and videos of the Cybertruck. So it's really, really slow. It overheats all the time, and then it just says like, I can't do this because it's overheated. You give me 5 minutes, basically. It costs $700, and you have to have a separate $24 a month plan, as you said, with T-Mobile, which also requires a different phone number. So it's not even like it's attached to your cell
Hmm.
plan. It's not apparently better at the phone than anything. Like there's no use case where this is actually better than your phone. I get that they raised 240 million, but that's nothing for a hardware company. Like
Yeah.
again, we talked about Inflection a few ago was basically tanked and they had 1.5 billion. Like 240 million in 6 rounds is not a lot. Um, it's like borderline insulting to your customers to release something like this as a V1. Again, I get the whole Silicon Valley mentality of move fast, put stuff out, ship, like
Hmm.
just get things into the market. But this is borderline irresponsible to put out a product like this. And you just don't usually recover from launches that are this bad. You go back to the Vision Pro, there was people who didn't like the Apple Vision Pro. And yes, the price tag was crazy, but it was an insane piece of technology. that has all of these incredible advancements. This is not that. And the Mark has Brownlee review. So if you're not familiar with him, he has 18.6 million subscribers on YouTube. The guy does like insane tech reviews, like awesome stuff. As of this morning, his YouTube video has 1.9 million views, and the headline is "The worst product I've ever reviewed" for now. So again, I don't want to like make this worse for them than it is. Their executives were all on Twitter over the weekend
Yeah.
saying like, "Hey, basically give us a chance. This is really hard. We've worked really hard at this." And I don't doubt that. And again, not to take anything away from what that team has tried to accomplish. I just don't know how you come back from something like this. I don't know how you get more funding. Um, Maybe they've got some IP, some patents, and some people that are worth rolling into another tech company like what Sam's trying to do with is it Johnny from Ivy? Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
from Apple? Like maybe there's some saving face play to do something with this tech, but as a standalone product that is going to make an impact on the world, it does not seem to be heading in that direction.
So another tool or app getting a lot of play is something called Udio. In a previous episode, we had talked about some of the stunning AI music generators coming out, one of which is Suno AI, that generates complete songs from scratch using AI. And Udio does the same thing. And it's being seen as a pretty serious competitor to a tool like Suno because it has the ability to generate catchy, realistic sounding music and singing in any style. What's notable about Udio is that it's founded by four former researchers at Google DeepMind. They have 10 million in total seed funding from VC firms that include Andreessen Horowitz and also some prominent individual investors like Instagram's co-founder and some musicians like Will I Am. And I listened to some sample songs created with Udio and was pretty blown away. It's currently under a wait list to use it. I think they're just flooded with people trying to sign up. I would say it certainly sounds on par with Suno. But just like Suno, there are still some big unanswered questions here about how these tools are able to produce such realistic sounding music. So Rolling Stone says, quote, though neither company will directly confirm or deny it, there is substantial reason to believe that both Udio and Suno were trained on copyrighted music without permission. So, Paul, what are your kind of initial thoughts on some of these well-funded music generators, startups like Suno, like Udio? Does anything jump out at you about kind of their business models, impact, copyright concerns?
I will say I was able to get in and get an account
Oh,
on
okay,
Sunday,
cool.
so I was
Nice.
able to go. I was showing my daughter last night how that one works. So yeah, I mean it's impressive. My my initial feeling, like they have an interesting founding team, certainly top investors. Um, I don't understand what the defensible mode is here.
Mm,
Like it this is going to be copied by everybody. Like my guess is all the research labs already have these capabilities or could quickly do them if they're also willing to take copyrighted songs and train models on it if they haven't already. So it doesn't seem like there's any real technological breakthrough that's going to like keep them differentiated that Suno or somebody else isn't going to be able to replicate and do. The way these labs work is like once somebody's done something, it's copied, really fast, and people move around all the time between labs and bring that knowledge somewhere else. So cool tech for sure. I think it's going to be everywhere, not just from Udio, but like literally everywhere is going to have this capability. Um, and then just like a background, not only on Udio, but also the next one we're going to talk about, just so people, because Mike and I get pitched all the time to like review products. And I think I've mentioned before, we've thought about playing in this world of like tech tools and reviews, and we'll do more of it. We're going to do a lot of it. But I think there's just like, sometimes people just jump to like the hot new tool and they don't really think about like why it is potentially relevant, or if people want to pitch Mike and I on products just to give you a sense of like how we think about these and how we filter them and decide which ones are worth bringing to you. So there's a lot that we look at, but just a few of the variables we consider. One is the founding team. So in this case, like Google DeepMind people, I'm going to pay attention every time. Like if
mm,
people have left one of the major research labs to found a thing, it gets our attention regardless of whether they have funding or not. So we look at the founding team. We look at how much funding they have and what series of funding they're in. We look at the investor list, who are the people behind these companies, and if they're major players, then again that captures our attention. In this case, it was um, there was a not only were the founders impressive, but the investors. You had the co-founder and CTO of Instagram and the head of Gemini at Google were two
Mm.
of the investors in this company. So that catches our attention. Product market fit, it's just obvious from the get-go. This is something that's going to hit the market, which I would not say the AI pin would fit into. Um, Personal experience with the tech. So if we've tried it, and then just like buzz chatter in our community of influencers, the people we consider sort of taste makers of AI. So from Udio to the next one we talk about and all the ones we'll talk about in the future, just so people have a little context as to how we decide which AI tools are worth talking about.
So, on that note, this third AI startup in the spotlight today is a tool called Captions. This is a AI powered creative studio that initially gained a bunch of massive popularity as an iOS app, and now it's rolled out capabilities for web and desktop users. So, the Captions AI powered creative studio has a bunch of features to help you basically edit video with the power of AI. So, you can do things like AI dubbing a video into 28 different languages while preserving the user's voice, AI eye contact, which corrects eye contact in just one click, AI shorts, which extract short clips based on viral potential from long form videos, and a feature called AI denoise, which removes background noise automatically. Now, Claire and our team has been impressed with testing out the tool and some initial use cases as we're kind of looking into using it for podcast, video creation, event video footage. According to CB Insights, Captions has $37.5 million in funding from VC firms that include Kleiner Perkins, Andreessen Horowitz, and Sequoia Capital. Now, Paul, what were your initial thoughts on Captions? I know we've been kind of exploring whether or not this is a replacement for something like a Descript, a complement to it.
Yeah, I think this one's a good example of how you can think about the impact of AI innovation within your own company. So the way this plays out, I see this getting, a lot of love last like Tuesday or so from, again, like the taste makers within our community, people that I follow closely. Starts kind of blowing up. I go check it out. Looks really impressive. They've got AI scriptwriter, AI avatars, voiceovers and voice cloning, AI trimming, AI enhanced speech, AI on eye contact. They have like 12 to 15 AI features,
Mm.
some of which to me seem complementary or redundant to what we already have. So I send it to Claire and our team. I was like, hey, can you take a look at this? Because Claire's the one that does the production of the podcast and the webinars and some of our other content. So she's the one that plays around most with this, is most adept, especially on the video side of things. So Claire goes through it, builds a brief, comes back to me like 24 hours later with this great analysis, like 3 to 5 pager. Here's ways we could use it, screenshots of how she did it. And I go back and say, okay, cool. Like, how does this affect Descript? And there's another tool, I think Opus Clips is another one we
Yeah.
use to do clips. And basically in this very dynamic way, like, okay, go. Like, if you think this is a better tool, go use it. And so I think this is the kind of way that companies need to approach when you find a tool that, again, go back to our criteria: impressive founding team, major investors, product market fit. They have 3 million users of the app. We know this is legit technology. This one's worth, spending some brain cycles on and some potential resources. And for us, we work in this world. It's like, okay, what's it cost? $50 a month, $20? I don't actually don't know. But whatever it is, okay, Claire, can you justify the cost? Is there going to be time saved, increase in creativity? Are we going to be able to do new things?
Mm.
Yes, go. That's how decisions are made. Now, again, we're small. We can be nimble like that. But I think that's what you have to do. You have to have a process to stay up on the latest technology that is actually legitimate. Don't get caught up in the next shiny thing that is just a distraction. But if you have criteria to assess these tech, and again, I share with you like 6 of our variables, but there's others. Once you have that criteria, you can look at a tech and say, okay, this fits our model of something we need to pay attention to. Let's have someone on our team who can go explore this. Ideally, it's the domain experts, the
Mm.
person most capable of assessing that technology. And then, here you are 5 days later, and we can be integrating that into the podcast this week. And so that's how this stuff works. And I think that's how a lot of organizations need to get structured to make it work.
Yeah, and just a final note there, I realize everyone has different budgets, but, like, we're not breaking the bank doing this. If
Right.
you can't spend $20 to test something out for a month, you are thinking about this the absolute wrong way, and it really you really need to maybe take a step back and think through that because you cannot even think about the cost of testing out a tool that's 20, $30 a month.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point, Mike. And maybe another way to think about it is like we're doing this kind of one off, more dynamic.
Mhm.
If you're in a bigger environment where you do need some more guardrails or you have more processes, then try and get that in advance. Say, hey, as part of our AI council or AI innovation team or like whatever you're calling it, we would like to have the freedom to spend up to $500 a month, a quarter to R&D technology. We want to be
Mhm.
able to play around with things. We will have a benchmark of current performance. We'll have a goal of what it's going to do. We're going to test it over a 90-day period or a 30-day period. Like, here's the system and get approval on that overall approach to testing AI tech versus, hey, can I go try this one? Can I go try this one? Can I get a $20 approval for that one? Or I'm just going to
Yeah.
put it on my personal credit card and try it. Like, get a system that encourages innovation. Um, and I think to your point, Mike, like if you go to leadership and say, listen, here's 3 tools we've already found that can make us more efficient, more creative, more productive. We would love to keep experimenting with this. Mike and Claire are going to lead our internal effort on this. Here's how they're going to do it. Here's the framework we'll use. Can we get approval to ad hoc spend what we need to spend to try this stuff?